The views and opinions of the Nissan Nation podcast are simply that. They are views and opinions of its guests or hosts. They do not reflect Nissan corporate or otherwise. Now, a DRB and KGB media presentation, the Nissan Nation podcast. Hit it, Kelly.
Recorded live, coast to coast, it's a Nissan Nation podcast. From camping, racing, and all points in between. The NNP is your Nissan Nation podcast. Now start your engines and welcome in your hosts, David, Danny, and Holden.
What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to the ATL and way over to LA. This is your Nissan Nation podcast, and it has been a while, guys. It's been a long while since we've got to chat a little bit. We've had me and Holden at WENTwindrock, Danny over there looking at his race truck and all the fun that it's about to be. So what is going on, gentlemen?
Not too much, Dave. Living in the land of no adventures over here, watching, living vicariously through my other buddies.
Yeah, man. How we tried not to rub it in. Well, no, we rubbed it in a lot that we were at Went.
There was. I've been rubbed less by a masseuse than what you guys were doing.
It's been rubbed hard and long all week long.
Yeah, for weeks on end. Pictures and jabs and FaceTimes and.
For those that don't know that wasn't at Went, we anytime we were doing anything fun or just anything, we were sure to FaceTime Danny over there, and it seemed like what you were Mr. Mom that week too, I think, right?
Yeah. My wife. Well, I was Mr. Mom for a little while. My wife went away for a 3-day trip, came home, and then she left again for a 7-day trip. So I had a lot of alone time with the kids, which didn't help because at the same time you guys kept FaceTiming me, drinking, working on trucks, partying it up in the woods, off-roading.
I think the worst
reminding
time
me of how much I like going out there.
I think the worst time was when we were at the little Mexican restaurant there, man. And then everybody was there, and I forget you were giving your son or somebody a bath or something.
Oh yeah, dude, my son is sitting there throwing water on me. You know, my kids are running amok. I think it was like probably middle of the week. Yeah,
and
then on top of that, you were handing the phone around, and like all my buddies that I only usually see once a year. And this year I didn't go to Gone. And I didn't go to Went, so I didn't see any of them this year. So I was saying hi to all the guys that I didn't get to see this year.
Well, we tried to spread it out. We had some people from Gone. Mr. Cody was there, so we tried to get everybody for you in one spot, man. I don't know how that works.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was like Danny's. Stop playing with that. And then he'd look back at his phone. Someone else would have the phone. And hey, you stop cutting your sister's hair. And then he'd look back and there's someone else. So just had to keep him on his toes. He never knew what was coming next.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm going through adventure withdrawal to the max.
Well, you were saving up some of your adventures though, right? I think you got some hunting trips or something. Or
yeah, I got a big hunting trip coming up on the 9th. I think it's 8th of November. I'm going for 7 days up to Montana. Go bag me a buck, and do some hunting,
nice,
for some elk and stuff. So
I've seen from
I did save a little bit up for that.
Well, from your Facebook post, it looks like you've been practicing. I see you've been at the range quite a bit.
Yeah. I always like try to get out at the range at least once a month, and I got some. So in California, if you want to shoot something, you have to use lead-free ammo because the Californians over here got the stupidest rules in the world because of 120 grain bullet of copper or lead is obviously going to pollute the atmosphere for the rest of our lives.
Between that and straws.
So I had to sight my rifle in for real ammo after hunting out here in California with that copper BS. So yeah, that was my most recent trip. Shot some guns, sighted my rifle in, make sure it's all squared away for my trip coming up in probably like 20 days or something like that now.
Well, so are you flying out there or are you driving?
No, we're driving. Me and my buddy, we take his big F-250, and he's going to tow his little side-by-side, his Polaris Ranger, whatever he's got. Tow that thing up there and Yeah, we bomb out there. I think it's like 18 hours or something like that from where we are. We make it in one fell swoop.
Man, it's like a me and JR trip or something for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, except the big F-250 is a little bit more roomy.
Well, speaking of a roomy, man, when I pulled up to Went, there was Holden, and they had like 10 trucks on one truck or something, man. It was kind of nuts, man.
He brought all the things, huh?
What was up with that, Holden?
I had no more room for any more stuff. I was pretty much
when you got a 26-foot trailer and you still don't have all your stuff, you know you brought enough trucks.
We just decided to tow the entire Nissan product line for the past 15 years up at one time.
Research and development, though, right?
Nice.
Proving that.
So you brought did you bring your X, or did you bring your dad's X, or how did that work out? What did you? I know you brought the crawler Frontier out there on the trailer. What else did you bring on there?
We put my dad's Xterra on there as well, because we were going to put my Xterra, but the thing, you can't touch tips of Stinger bumpers on the trailer. So we had the Frontier loaded on backwards. Then I went to pull my Xterra up, and since I had double Stingers, you just can't touch the tip. So it hung off the back, so we had to use my dad's Xterra instead.
So you couldn't bring your Xterra because your tip was too long.
One of those situations.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I just drove my Xterra up, so it was still there, just wasn't trailered up.
Yeah, and his dad wouldn't drive it. Up? Well, Dad wouldn't drive the truck.
He wanted to drive it because he said my Xterra was too loud.
Wow.
So
did you put a big sticker over the gas door? Diesel fluid.
I was there. I was there. I was there and in charge of all fillings.
That's good. That's good.
So at least we know your trucks are male. I mean, if it's just tip to tip like that.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
But
aren't all vehicles supposed to be females though, like ships?
No.
I don't know. All my vehicles are females.
What are we going maritime law all of a sudden out here?
Yeah, dude, you can't have a dude. Cars?
I mean, in today's society, it totally be a woman with a finger.
My vehicle's non-binary.
Sometimes you got to watch out for the women with stingers.
Well, so
there we go. Derailed.
Very derailed. But so Danny, you were very, very missed it. We had a few people that were missing that are normal, steadfast people. Like my buddy Kevin Smith didn't get to show up this year, but Dan, you missed the first rollover in Went's history too, man.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, what did you do? This tell us what you saw, because obviously me and Holden were there. What did you see that kind of piqued your interest and you want to know about?
Well, to tell you the truth, nothing was like. I saw the rollover, but at the same time, I'm like, well, if somebody's going to roll over, it's going to be one of those guys,
right?
You know what I'm saying? There's only a couple of guys that are usually doing stuff at Went that's rollover, unless a trailer is leading one of the guys off the side of a cliff. Throwback. But for the most part, there's not a ton of big rollover stuff, and especially with like trail leaders and spotting and stuff like that. I'd say the rollover percentage is slightly less than Moab, or the rollover potential, just because it's a little bit more slick stuff. And
did you hear how that rollover happened though? I
didn't hear it all.
So you want to compare this to Moab? Moab doesn't have what's called clay, and so rumor has it that truck was going down a hill, and all of a sudden it couldn't stop, and it would hit the brakes. And it slid, and when it did, the back tires slid up against the wall of how they're kind of ditched out. Some of the trails are. So the back tire went up, kind of. I can't even describe it. So it slid sideways. The back tire hit one of those banks and rolled over on itself.
Oh wow!
So it went a little too top heavy in the half pipe and just completely.
Yeah, wow, that would have been exciting.
There was a couple spots like that with me where I had my foot on the brake and mashed, and you could just feel the truck
pretty slick and uncontrollable out there this time, huh?
The wheels weren't moving. Like everything was locked, but the truck's just still kind of sliding.
Went in the wet is just a dangerous scenario. I compare it in the dry, I suppose, because the only time I ever went where it was wet was like the one downpour, and then it was sunny the rest of the time. So it was like, I would say I've only been to went moist. I haven't been to went wet yet. But like, I mean, when you get a dirt place like that soaking wet, everything is just a wild card. I mean, anything you do is either 10 times harder or
right.
Like, oh wait, it's sticky mud or something.
Well, the rain literally started. I loaded my truck up on the trailer, and I got just east of Nashville, and all of a sudden it come a downpour, man. And like it would, Danny, I've never had to drive so slow in my life. Of course,
That's how we drove up last time. We had to stop under the bridge. Remember that?
Oh, I do. Yeah, with Chris. Well, this was now imagine an hour and a half of that.
Oh yeah, that one that we went through was like maybe 20 minutes, but not that long. Yeah, geez.
Yes, so we got there, and I probably Holden. You became sunny, right?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, started getting really bad once we got a little bit closer. But yeah, I mean, Danny, it was so wet. Trail 22, which is traditionally pretty easy, was a nasty, sloppy mud fest. Where
I remember when it was wet one time when I think I flew out or something like that, and I didn't get on it, and there was I just heard about how trucks were just spinning, not like all four tires spinning high RPM, just barely making it up, like the easiest part of the trail.
There was one part on my trail where we were actively discussing turning around because it was so nasty. And I'll have to send you the video, but pretty much what I did is I just completely just floored the Frontier and just spun the mud, just and just spun the mud all the way out and literally cleared the path up.
Cleaning tires all the way up.
And so I get all the way to the top and kicked all the loose mud up to where everyone else just pretty much went up it nice and smooth and easy because I just shot all the loose stuff. Yeah, I don't think
down to some rocks.
I don't think that Frontier had seen anything like that up until this point. So
yeah, it's probably pretty dry for a lot of its life.
Has your detail
Arizona
guy, right?
and Utah wheeling for the most part.
Yeah, and your detail guy hadn't seen that much mud either, has he, Holden?
I haven't had the heart to take it into work yet. It's still muddy. But with the camo wrap, you can't even hardly tell.
Yeah, which was another big thing.
Right in.
That you kind of showed us what you were gonna do with that, and I have to admit, man, I was just like, God, that's gonna be the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And then you and Luke with the lifestyle pulled it off, man. Once you see it in person, it's like completely different. You get it. The little like clip of like you sent us like just a snippet of whatever the camouflage was, and I was like, it just looks like a rattlesnake or something.
Yeah, no, shout out to Luke, Lifestyle Off-Road. I mean, he got it done.
Rain or shine.
I know Wednesday I was like, well, Luke, I'll help you however much you want. And then Luke's dad, Tom, kind of convinced me to go wheeling with him instead. So I left Luke kind of on his own with some help there. It was raining, and people, like, from what I gathered, people kind of helped Luke out.
Yeah, I remember a phone call, and I look in the background, and Luke's over there with a blowtorch wrapping somebody's truck, and I'm like, what's going on there, man?
I pretty much took Tom, his dad, out wheeling while he finished up the rest of the truck, so that was actually pretty nice. But yeah, I love the way it turned out. Nice. Definitely
well, the worst
gives it a whole new look.
The worst thing was we needed to move the truck under the canopy, and you were gone, and we're trying to move it around because we're trying to set up the event area as well. And then to come to find out that the keys were in the dash or something, that you just left them there?
Yeah, I left them in the glove box in case anyone needed them.
So we didn't know until Holden got back.
And Dave comes to me, he's like, man, we had to push this thing and everything. He's like, I was like, the keys in the glove box? He's like, what? Why would you put them in the glove box? I was like, I didn't want to just leave them around, but I figured in case y'all needed to move it, you could have them.
Have we known that truck?
Push that thing?
Oh God, yeah, we pushed it around that canopy. Had I known the keys were in it, me and Luke may have taken that truck down the rock challenge before you got to, man. But overall, I mean, it was a wet time, and we had a lot of first time people, Danny. I mean, like, if you were a vendor and you weren't there, you missed out on a lot of sales chances because I didn't know half the people there. Did you, Holden?
No, like my group, I had a ton of people I met for the first time, and I had people I met for the first time. Maybe I've seen them on Facebook and stuff like that, but then I had people I've never seen on Facebook or anything. Like the kid Cameron in the Frontier, he just showed up and finished doing his truck like 2 months ahead of time, and he's got a fully built, real nice Frontier. But it's like, where did this guy come from? I haven't seen him on any page whatsoever. And there was quite a few people like that. So I think that was huge. That was awesome.
There was a lot of huge things there.
I want to say 2 years ago, it was kind of like that. I saw a lot of new faces kind of pop up, a lot of new builds. If I remember, they all meld together a little bit, but I remember there was a year that was very, very similar to that where, for the most part, we had seen a lot of the same faces and a lot of the same people. And then, there was a lot of new faces popped out. And then, the next year we saw a lot of the same faces kind of come back or whatever. But
it makes you, as an event organizer, it makes you nervous because you're like the weather. You're like, man, I know I rarely take this on. Like, it's a burden to take on. Like, I don't want to ruin anybody's vacation, and this is a week-long deal. And so I really stress about it. And then when you add the rain to it, and I mean, we knew it was going to rain, but we didn't think the whole damn event, except for Friday, it didn't rain. And, like I was, and of course on me, we'll get into it, but I had to go buy and sell a house in between all this crap too. But
yeah, Dave, your timing is impeccable.
It's not my timing.
I even told him on our way out to Arizona that this was going to happen.
You did.
I think you would have learned the first time, dude. It just
if it had things. Okay, so we'll get into this. So I bought 2 years ago. I bought a house right like the week before Went, and the closing went bad, and I literally closed the Monday, and then Tuesday I had to be at Went. So, and it stressed Kelly out, and it was just a bad ordeal. So we, being in the land business that I am around here, I kind of know when to make moves or feel like I do, and it was time to sell that house, and interest rates and stuff are going up. So I was like, we got to make the move. So we had planned to literally planned it that 2 weeks before the event, this was done. And the people that bought my house. So, Danny, there was 5 houses involved in this. They were all,
contingency closes and stuff like that. They were all there were 5 contingencies.
Yes. And the last
we
one,
bought our house on one, a contingency before ours, and that was a nightmare.
Well, try 5 of them, and then try the person that was blocking it all up was the last person in line buying my house. So, and I didn't realize they were coming from Memphis. Like, it was a nightmare. And we would get closing after closing. It's going to happen. And then that day they go, it ain't going to happen. Sorry. So anyways, so Wentz kicked off, and I get that phone call going, you have to close Wednesday of your event. So I had to drive the 200 miles back to Nashville, and it was a nightmare. So I was kind of lucky, unlike Holden, that I sort of skipped a day. And I don't ever want to skip a day of my event, but I got out of the first day of wheeling in that mess, man. And what trails do you remember what trails you did the first day, Holden?
I did trail 33, the one you had to turn around on because you're
that was 30. 30's the
30, 33, 11. I did extra trails because we were done so quick that we were done so quick. I mean, I didn't have to turn around. Dave even had to pull out the Max Trax pads. He had to pull out the pad.
I did.
Dave, you went full paddy?
Well, here's why.
Did you use the Maxis or the minis?
Well, they're the cheapos.
Yeah, the minis.
No, but what that was about though is I'm dealing with a bunch of noobs, and when I say noobs, it's like I had one guy that bless his heart, man, he was a trooper in the end, but he wanted to jump out of his vehicle. He was so stressed, and the rain and all that didn't help. But and then we get 500 feet from the exit of this trail, and it's such an awesome rock garden. And I have all these rookies with me, and it the whole time it's a downpour.
For context, Danny, this is the trail me and you did last year with Boondocks. With the big rocks.
Yeah, the one that he two-wheeled up that we had to give him a yank or
rocks on.
Yeah. That's a good trail.
So this is where,
it's even washed out now.
Newbies on that trail would be.
Well, the end of it now, Danny. The end of it is a freaking nice rock garden, isn't it, Holden?
Yeah,
it's a nice.
I remember that trail. Yep.
And so I see this, man, and my heart sinks because it took 3 hours or more to get us to this point, and then it's such a tight trail. I had to turn 12 trucks around on this tight trail, and we had to head back down, man. But
meanwhile, my trail the day before, I had a guy who's made after my own heart. Shout out to Cameron. He's like, there's a big old mud hole right there. You mind if I try to go through it? I was like, hell yeah, you can go try to go through it.
Any alternators?
I don't know if any. I only know of what
That I know
of. Matt Danner lost. He lost
Axle shaft?
CV.
Yeah.
So is he R180 or M205?
I think
R180.
Yeah, he's still R180.
And because I wanted to say he posted some about I broke it and I probably shouldn't have drove the rest of the trail with it broken or something like that.
Well, he didn't realize he broke it, right?
He was on my trail. So he didn't have anyone sign up for his trail. So he asked if he could hop in. So I was like, yeah, man, you could be my tail gunner. And I remember because my group was solid group. I very rarely had to get out and spot. If I was getting out, it was mostly just to take pictures. But I remember I was out and he was going up an obstacle and I was taking a picture and talking to somebody. And I heard, a loud just pop, but he's manual too, so it kind of threw me off.
Yeah,
like, man, that kind of sounded like a CV. But then I was like, maybe it's just in my head. And he ended up going up the rest of it fine. But this is a little bit right at midway, halfway through the trail. And like I said, we got done and we did some other stuff, drove all around. But looking back on it now, it kind of makes sense. There was one part where it's just a gravel hill on a G trail. I mean, it was pretty washed out. He slid completely all the way back down and off the side and tried to pull a Norb on me again. It's like a same
so
thing.
that was the same dude who Norbed you?
Yeah, I'm like up the trail and I hear someone say, I think Matt needs some help. He's off the trail. And I'm like, motherfuckers, again? We're on a G trail. Y'all are running off the road. But then when we finally get done with the trail riding for the day, we pull over and everyone's, putting it in 2-wheel drive, this, that, and the other. And that's when Matt kind of realizes it. And yeah, you could walk up to it and shake the CV.
Yeah, I remember. I think I saw that video. Yeah.
So
was the boot just holding it together? Was the boot holding it together?
Yeah, it was all like
there's nothing in there. Fine. Yeah.
But then when you walked up to it, it was just shaking.
It was just held together by boot. Then.
Yeah. But it exploded at that knuckle there. But it broke a shaft in the diff.
Yeah.
Oh really? It broke 2 times. Well. It may have broke one spot and then broke another.
Right. But they ended up...
We did some more gnarly stuff. So he was doing that manual 3-wheel drive.
Well,
so.
And then on your trails, you had to pull a Dave there and put a piece of wood under somebody's Gen 1.
Yeah, had a first gen brake the torsion bar. So luckily we knew what to do.
The old wood suspension trick.
The old wood suspension trick. So I definitely had an interesting time of wheeling. Then our last day, Friday, everyone's taking it easy, and even the expert group is just going to do some G trails and whatnot. And me and my group, we decided to do a black trail, and everyone told us, no, you can't do that, because people before me had told me, oh, you can't go up 22. So I had Cody and some other guys, and they were like, hell yeah, we came here to wheel. Let's do it. So that ended up being a pretty fun time as well.
And I have to say,
you didn't go up the death trail, did they, Dave? Did you do that one this year?
They were going to do the one that y'all got stuck and torn up on.
Yeah, the 18-hour trail or whatever it was.
39 it is. No, there was on the plans, but I think the weather... That was planned for day one for those guys.
That trip in a rainstorm would have been a nightmare. Well, you had to drive through. I mean, when we did it, you had to drive through some huge water bogs that were like up to the bumper in the dry time.
Yeah, all the creek crossings were super high.
Yeah.
I know we did 35 the last day, the Black Trail, and there were parts where the bank had completely washed down into the trail.
Nice.
So we were like clearing rocks and trees where it just mudslid right across. So.
Yeah, so it definitely was a good time, man. I mean, and I was surprised how well that the new guys who've never really had a lot of experience there, they all took to it really well, man. Like there was no bad attitudes, in which I was kind of expecting some moaning and kind of pissiness about it, and never heard the first bit of people upset about it.
Well, you're a little bit of a pessimist sometimes, Dave.
Well, like I said, I don't want to mess somebody's. I don't want to mess somebody's vacation up. So, and that's the way I look at it, man.
Yeah. I hear you.
No, you definitely missed out on the shenanigans as well, Danny. They were definitely.
Tell me about some shenanigans. I got smatterings, and the thing with the wife being gone at the same time too is, as much as I wanted to sit there and look at all the pictures and stuff like that, dude, I was just wrangling kids, and by the time I was done with that, I'm like, dude, I gotta just go to bed, or I'm gonna binge out on some shows. I can't focus on anything right now. So even when I was looking at something, all I was doing is just freaking zoning out from children asking questions and whatnot. So yeah, I want to hear about the shenanigans, because usually those don't like totally make it onto social media.
Well, Holden he kept bugging me when the Nissan. Well, you had some Nissan rep there, right?
Yeah.
And we were able to tag the Titan, whatever was on the side of that thing. We were able to get a Danny
Action Suit Groot.
Yeah, we got Action Suit
Groot. Yeah,
Groot
there's
on
an
there.
Action Suit Groot on there.
And we got the Holden
it's still
effect
on
there
too.
Is it really?
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah, I saw it yesterday. He was up at the store, and it's still on there.
I wonder if he's even noticed
the
it.
pink Action Suit Groot and the
pink one too.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah, the pink one and the Holden effect are both on there still.
Sick.
There was lots of penises put on vehicles. I noticed.
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
Holden.
Were there any sticker penises put on?
Oh no, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that was put everywhere. They were nice.
I know
pink...
I put my penis on a lot of vehicles when I could have went. That's the secret trick that keeps on giving. The one thing when you just put your junk on somebody's door handle, don't tell anybody. You guys have definitely touched that.
It was Thursday night. Dave had to be called down to the pavilion because I wasn't being a very good adult. But we got pretty drunk.
Oh,
Ryan Miller was working on his truck and took out the front skid. And about that time, someone was like, "Man, that'd be a pretty good sled." Say no more. We had a Frontier with a pull strap, and Ryan had pulled his helmet out of his truck, and we were dragging him and Boondocks through the field using the front skid as a sled. And I think someone told Dave that there was very immature things happening down at the pavilion, so he had to come and do his adult duties and supervise the children.
If you were to put a line up and say who did this, that would be literally that would be who did it. I would point you out in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so I get down there, and it was all mellow by the time I got there. I was like, I knew Luke was down there. I was like, well, there can't be that much going on, man. But just somebody was a little concerned, and probably slightly good reasons.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we had the proper PPE. We had gloves. We had helmets.
You did a risk assessment survey.
Yes. I think the craziest night probably was Wednesday. Wednesday got pretty crazy.
Is that when Jonathan Arnold got sick?
Yeah. So that was the Heps and Beasley wine tasting, and I know it went pretty late, and then next thing you know, it's me, Miller, Boondocks, Luke, John Arnold,
Cody.
I think that's pretty much it.
Cody
was down there. Well, me and Ryan Miller Luke has at least 5 minutes of it going on, of me and Ryan Miller going back and forth doing Holden puns. Just like nonstop, 5 minutes of it. Like, just holding on a minute, and just as many times as you could. Then we decided to have the Battle of the Branches, and me and him competed in super, super drunk giant Jenga. And I remember we're sitting there doing this, talking to Luke and everything, having a good time. And dude, we are gone. All of a sudden we look over and John is just projectile vomiting, Exorcist style, just straight out of his mouth. And this is after we had convinced he was so drunk he was trying to get people to do shoe beers, Danny.
Shoe beer.
John Arnold did a shoe beer to himself.
He shoe beered himself?
Oh God, shoe beer. Everyone's doing it. It was like Frank the Tank was there. Everyone's doing it. He's the only person doing it.
Hat
doing
tip to
shoe beers
John Arnold, dude.
pods.
Shout out to that. Shoe beer life, man.
I don't think he wants anyone to ever know about that. But
well, Jonathan wanted to make his first win a memorable one, I guess.
Man, good for you, sir. If you don't regret it a little bit, you didn't do it right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but hell, the next day, so what was it? Miller took him home, and I guess they dropped him. He told him the wrong cabin, so he was trying to go in somebody else's cabin. And then he got mad at Miller he said that he took him purposely to the wrong cabin, and Miller's like, "Look, this is the one you told me to take you to." So Miller just left him. He was like, "Screw this, man." But
meanwhile, with all this fun, that may or may not be the reason why Miller's whole wheel fell off on Friday.
Yes. So I don't know if Danny knows about that one. So set that up, Holden.
So and to be clear to everybody listening, I really haven't talked to Dave or Holden since when, and like very little to know. So I'm hearing all this good stuff firsthand with all of you.
For days, Miller's been working on his truck, in the evening time.
Wait.
People
So
during the day.
yeah, but when he got there, the truck got taken off a trailer and put right under the canopy, and it was like a complete rebuild.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I understand because that truck got absolutely demolished in that one show, right?
Oh yeah. So pretty much all we did is drink beers in the evening and work on Miller's truck. So finally get it all up and going and everything. Friday, we get a text from Luke of Miller's truck, and the wheel's like 6 feet out in front of it, and the truck's just sitting like that.
Yeah.
Apparently, he'd forgotten to tighten down the wheel that he had off.
Nuts.
And the worst thing is Brady Lemons had offered him an impact. And he's like, oh no, I don't need that. So they're going down the trail. Ryan's wheel comes falling off, and he just sees it rolling out in front of him, and finally flops over on it.
It crunched that fender.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh man, I missed out even more than I thought. Thanks a lot.
But through all that, though, I mean, that was about the, casualties, I guess, was more Miller than anything out there. Yeah.
Until the Rock Challenge.
Yes, and that's where I was leading to. So we had 7, I think, do the Rock Challenge this year, and it was on Holden twice. So Holden was going for both classes.
Picked both trucks up it.
But Holden didn't just take them up it. He destroyed them all the way up.
Yeah, I've seen 0 videos of the Rock Challenge. Are we in editing or what? Where is all the footage from this?
Daniel Melendez has posted a little bit on the the group page, and I know Holden's got some.
Yeah, he's posted on the Went page. I'll put up my 2 runs tomorrow on the Nissan Nation podcast page. Or whenever this episode drops.
This will drop.
But yeah,
this will drop Thursday.
So we'll have it up Friday if you're listening. But yeah, my xterra is still the only person to competitively go up it on 33s.
Competitive is competitive the operative word.
I don't know if you use competitive for what you've done to that poor truck or just destroyed.
Hey, I did not have the slowest time, and I was on 33s.
That is
did
true.
Not have to be winched up.
That is
true. There were 2 other trucks that had to be winched up, not this guy. So yeah, I was doing pretty good.
We'll start it out. Holden, just kind of just because
there's that big ass rock 3/4 of the way up.
It's the 3/4 of the way up. That spot it's nasty.
That one's murdered a lot of people.
To put it to you this way, Brady, that's the first time he's ever had to put it in reverse. Brady had to put it in reverse.
Yeah, he hit that spot.
Yeah. Dang. Raw Dog Brady likes the gas pedal. I know that.
Yeah. So I'm getting up there, cruising pretty good. Get up to the spot, and it's just not happening. Just, I mean, my poor front radiator skid from Hefty, and the very bottom tube along that tube bumper that I have.
Yeah.
It's bashed in, it's completely bashed up and in.
The integrity of the tube is no longer allowing for the circular strength portion.
So when I put up the video, you'll hear it. You got to turn up the volume, but there's one part where we finally get the line all situated, and I had Miller spot me. He's like, "Just come on!" And you can hear me just stick my head out the window and be like, "I'm just gonna send it."
Yeah.
Yes.
So I do, and it starts getting up, and then you hear, and I completely lost the bead on one of my tires, and I'm almost there. I'm right there at that flat spot where all you got to do is just hit it.
Yeah.
Well, and you hear that noise, and you hear the crowd just go, "Oh," because we'd already heard one or two like that.
Oh, he lost a tire, and Luke's standing right there, and he's just like, "Just keep going." And I was like, "Fuck it!" So I just floored it, absolutely floored it. I just and just finished it out, and that's why my wheel looks the way it does. It's now a triangle more than it is round.
Well, so and that same spot got you in the big truck too, if I remember right.
Yeah, how did the big truck do? I mean, I don't even know who won the Rock Challenge. Were there classes? Was there a winner, losers?
Yeah. So Brady
is
won.
That announced?
Yeah. So Brady won for his class again.
What's his class?
It's the 35 plus class in tires.
35 IFS, or is it just 35 plus?
No, it's
just tire
size.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't break it down the best way, in my opinion.
Okay. It's all right. There's a learning curve to us.
Yeah, I've only done this 7 years now. We'll get it eventually. But yeah, so Joel won.
That touched a nerve.
No, Joel won for his class in a 35.
You've only moved 5 times and you haven't figured that out either.
But Joel, like, he blew a tire early.
Joel won, but I don't know if I'd count that as winning. When you see his video, Danny, all the airbags went off.
Oh,
and he never missed a beat when they went off. Never missed a beat.
Bam!
Yep.
He was in the middle of going, did not stop at all.
Well, they didn't go off till the very end.
What happened was, Nissan, I was driving down this nice soft dirt road.
How would you like to see the black box information on that one? Explain that one.
It says here, sir, that you were 100% compressed in all of your suspension.
But yeah, so he got to that same spot and he got past it, and as soon as he got past it, he got into it, and all of a sudden you hear ba-doom and side curtain airbags. Did the steering wheel go off too? I want to say no. But
I don't think so. I think it was just the curtains. Yeah, now that you know the airbags went off, Danny, you'll be watching the video and you'll be like, "Oh, here's where it is."
Oh yeah.
And you'll get through it and you'll be like, "Wait, that's where they went off?"
Yeah.
It was actually
that's how it is,
wild.
dude. That's how it is. It's weird because after all the shit that I put my truck through on the trail where mine blew, I went up one of the craziest hill climbs. I did the entire run through Moab. I mean, I was like pointing straight up and it was back and forth and I was hammering down and bouncing it. And we got up that, we did some other stuff. And then I'm just kind of barely rallying down a little dirt road and boom, I'm surprised he kept going because when that thing, maybe it was where my head was at or something like that. When that thing went off, I felt like I got punched in the face. I was like dazzled. My ears were ringing. I like looking around like, oh, where am I?
Well, so Joe, like, he was so happy he won that though, man. So
what class was he in?
Kind of the 35 under class. I've got to talk with Luke on how these are split really, but I let him run that thing. But he, we lost Holden. The Holden effect.
Oh,
but
we got too drunk.
Yep, we'll add him back there. But like Holden said, man, he just it exploded right at the top, and he just gunned it once it did. It was like, no, I'm going. Like, what do I have to lose now? And he ended up, I think he blew 2 tires, plus the airbags. And, but Holden struck, like, really, what he's saying about the skids on the front of it, like I'm not kidding, it's caved in. Like, he just was like, F it, man, when he hit this big rock.
Yeah, but, the radiator skid, I can't remember if Holden's running aluminum or steel. Do you know?
They're aluminum.
Steel skids?
No, they're aluminum.
Aluminum, yeah. I know with my radiator skid, I've had to take it off and bend it back a little bit. That skid takes a ton of damage when you're really smashing through some stuff. Mm-hmm. But it is a little bit more prone to bending, just the way it's mounted and everything like that. So, but I can bend it back.
Well, he
straighten it out.
And after the fact, man, that night at the raffle and stuff, Holden was standing on his tire like he was a proud beagle on that thing, man. He caught his prize.
Nice.
And
yeah, it was pretty bad, but I was more hurt that Brady beat me by 3 seconds on the 35 and above class.
Brady was scared. I will say that, like, I wouldn't say scared, but like he knew there was some competition.
It made me happy because Brady was like, "Are you really gonna try?" Because all week he does typical Brady. I just don't know if I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So it did make me happy when they said when I got up there and they announced my time that he turned around and started walking down the hill and was like, "Fuck," because he was a little like, dang it, I really got to actually go for it. I can't just creep through it. So.
Well,
lost a wheel on that one too. So
both trucks ended up with some damage.
So why didn't you absolutely blast through it in the Frontier? That's what I want to know. How would you lose to Brady in the Frontier?
I mean, I moved through it pretty quick. It just that one spot with the rock. If you don't hit it exactly, if you don't hit it exactly perfect on the line, I had it and then it just slid off. Yeah. So then when I got up it, I caught the inner lip of the wheel on just a pointy rock, and it just lost the bead on that tire and bent that wheel. And it hit it enough to where, as it kept going, the brake caliper was catching it. So
so it bent it into the brake caliper a little bit on the inside?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to get new wheels, which I think I'm going to switch away from 15s anyways. I might go something a hair bigger.
Well, the biggest thing, too, is on that one rock you're talking about is once your front tire gets up it, the back passenger side falls in a hole. So, like,
it's a big hole. Yeah. That's a gnarly little spot, and you have to hit it just right or you're not going to bounce up and over.
What's funny is I'm seeing people on Facebook talk about this because they're in the xterra groups, and there's always that one bro guy that was like, oh, man, if I was there, that's nothing compared to what we do in my town, bro. And you're like, and he's like, oh, man, I would have that in, like, nothing. And then I love people like Cody who's now done it. And Cody almost won the thing in his class.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I was going to ask how Cody did it.
Cody probably would have won it, but he forgot to turn his front locker on.
Oh!
He got all the way to the end and got stuck on something pretty simple. And somebody was like,
come on.
They were like, is your locker on? He was like, oh, damn it, I forgot to turn that on.
Dang.
But so
representing us Westerners.
But no, Cody did he did it excellent.
Nice.
Because that is completely kind of different from what he's used to, and he handled it real well. And I got to give a shout out to Cody, man. Like, Cody traveled from Wyoming to come here, man, and it was like a day and a half.
He drove that thing all the way out too, right?
Yeah,
and drove it back. That's pretty.
And
that's
did
pretty
the rock
sweet.
challenge and then drove it all the way back. So Nissan.
It looked like he wheeled the piss out of it too while he was out there, right?
He played with the big boys. I think he was in Holden's group once.
Yeah, he did the black trail with me the last day too, where you would think you made it through the week. Like, maybe I'm just gonna take it easy the last day because I got to drive this thing all the way back to Wyoming. And yeah, he stayed in the black group and wheeled the piss out of it, and we put it in some weird funky spots too, because he wanted to test out some of the rear flex and everything. So we were definitely testing it out.
Sweet. Oh, yeah, and his truck, it flexes pretty well too, man. But overall, man, it was definitely a great event. Big shout out to White Knuckle for the sponsoring that event, man. That's like their 6th year doing it, and everybody always loves the trophies, dude. Danny, you would have loved the red trophy we gave away this year. It would have matched.
Oh, I saw it. It looked good.
It would have matched your truck.
It looked
man.
sparkly.
And,
looked like candy.
Yeah, well, it was candy for the people having to fix their stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the raffle. We've got some interviews coming up, and we'll get to them in just a minute. But me and Holden, so the whole week you were asking about, did you do the big podcast show? And you can't do the big show without the big guy, you know? I mean, Holden's the new guy in here, and he can hold it down with you, but you got to have the big deal if you're going to do the full-blown podcast, Danny. So we took it a different direction this year, and we did a bunch of what do you call them, Holden? What are you calling these?
Calling them Wenterviews.
Wenterviews, yeah.
Wenterviews, yes.
And speaking of Wenterviews, let's get with our buddy Cody that we were just talking about and get his take on the weekend. All right, so we got Mr. Cody Fletcher. Cody, you've drove a long way to the hills of East Tennessee. For one, I've never properly welcomed you to East Tennessee, doing my duties of my home state. So welcome to, well, I won't say this is my town, but it's close enough. You had a hell of a drive, buddy.
Yeah, 1,565 miles in one way.
Wow. So you're an oil change in. And we've got Mr. Aaron Powers over here. Aaron's got a box of goodies.
Reach in there and grab whatever you want. Don't look.
Oh, what did he pull? Me and Aaron bought some Hot Wheels. Ooh, you got the GTR.
The Fast and the Furious GTR, by the way.
I'll take her.
Well, yeah. But so you're basically an oil change to get home.
Yeah, pretty much.
And but you didn't just drive out like in a nice vehicle. You drove out in a xterra, and I won't say it's not a nice vehicle like that. But
it's a pile.
But I mean, I have one. We're looking at mine. It's a different vehicle to drive, and to drive that long, like I've drove distance in a nice car, and you're tired. So you had to be tired a little bit in that vehicle.
You know, the first day I left on Saturday at about 4 o'clock in the morning. I was on 3 hours of sleep. Made it to Kansas City about 7 o'clock, so an hour change. So I was on the road for about 13, 14 hours the first day.
Yeah, I saw your first day you posted up kind of when you stopped, and it was like 3 hours in or something, and you're like a stop, like 2 stops or something in. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so expensive for poor Cody. Because the Gen 1, especially once you sass it, it's not a hybrid vehicle by any means.
Of course it is. It burns gas and oil. I actually managed halfway decent mileage, about 15 miles per gallon.
Really? I would have never thought that.
Re-geared.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What gears are you running?
I'm running 513s front and rear.
Yeah, and you're 35s too,
35s. Right? Speedometer's about 4 miles hour off at 60.
Yeah.
About 10 at 70, so not too bad.
Yeah, so it's better than it was.
Yeah.
So what year is your vehicle?
I have a 2001 Xterra, Dana 44 front, ARB locker, 513 gears, Cal Mini solid axle slip on King 2.5s in the front, 10-inch travel, King 2.0 smoothies in the rear. Just rebuilt the rear suspension with General Springs, custom armor as much as it can.
Yeah, you like literally before you got here, I see on your Facebook page, you were like building some skid plates.
Yeah, I built the skid plates about a month ago, and they weren't painted or anything. Went out, tested the truck, broke a lot of stuff, which prompted the rear end build. I rebuilt the rear end basically 2 weeks before I came out here. Had no idea how it was going to perform, and pulled the skid plates, tossed some paint on them, put them back on, and came out.
Wow. When I go to Moab and stuff, they're always like, Dave, when you gonna bring your Gen 1 out? And I'm like, no. I would only have to trailer, so I can't, like, it's the ball's on you to do a SAS vehicle like that, man. But kind of where you're at, you have some places to wheel, but it's not.
All my wheeling spots, I can either go and wheel with the NORAD crew down there in Colorado, and they're about 6.5 hours, or there's some really good wheeling out in South Dakota, about 2 hours from me. Yeah. But, I mean, it's a haul either way.
It's like, I think us on the East Coast take it for granted a little bit. I know I do in my town because I have WENTwindrock, which is about 76,000 acres. I have Willie's Off-Road. It's only 45 minutes from me. It's 500-600 acres, but there's a lot to do there. I think there's 5 or 6 places within an hour of me to go off-roading. And I always you guys out west have the best spots, it seems, but you got to go travel to them.
Yeah.
So I always take it for granted that when I go to Moab, I'm always amazed. The first time I went to Moab, I was amazed, like, man, you guys got to go 30 miles to go get on the first trail? It's like, what is that about?
Yeah. It's, West Coast wheeling, East Coast wheeling, they're very different, and just the travel time is kind of crazy. WENTwindrock here, I mean, town's right there, 5 minutes away.
Yeah, you don't have to leave anything.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to, you can be very self-sufficient here for a week and never have to worry about it. Yeah. So obviously everybody gets to know people on the internet and stuff, and people you never get to meet, but you learn who they are. You got to meet a bunch of people this weekend, right?
Yeah, I met a lot of people that I've talked to and through Facebook and the forums for years, 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And, Paul and Trish.
Yeah.
I play Xbox with Paul probably twice a week.
Really?
They offered me a place when I was on the way in. I took it up.
Yeah, they're super, they live here.
Yeah, they're 20 minutes away.
Yeah, so they're always hey, if somebody needs a bed or something, just holler at us.
Yeah.
Like people like Ryan Bennett. You probably met Ryan in Moab.
I met Ryan Bennett last year in Moab.
Zach Wilkinson was here.
I played Xbox with Zach and Kevin, and, it's kind of funny. He rolled up. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I look over, there he was.
Yeah, like you've just been best buddies forever,
Yeah.
So what do you take away from driving out here and kind of getting the East Coast experience?
I need a truck and trailer
Yes.
so I can beat on my rig a lot more.
Yes, because you did the White Knuckle Rock Challenge today, and I was amazed that you did it, because I was like, I guess I'm just not adventurous enough, man, because that challenge, before you got there, so a couple trucks had already broke.
Yeah. Holden busted a tire right in front of me. The rig in front of him busted an axle shaft.
Yeah.
And I had no reference of line, you know.
Yeah.
They're both very different rigs from what I've got, and I just I walked it once. Brady Overly, winner, he gave me a little tip for the top, and I had good spotters, you know, Ryan Miller and Luke, and
Yeah.
I did what I could. I crawled it like a rock garden. I wasn't trying to race. You know,
Right.
low tire pressures.
So what do you
everything.
think? Because I know in the forums a little bit, there's been this discussion of, what are y'all doing out there on the East Coast? You're just that rock challenge. That's just stupid. Do you understand? Obviously, it's a race. It's a challenge. I mean, that's what it is. To challenge your vehicle a little bit. And it's not super far, but the rocks there, pictures don't do it justice of the holes that you're going to be in.
Some of these holes are as big as small tires.
Yes.
You know, 30-inch holes, 40-inch holes in some spots. And, for me, like I said, I crawled it like a rock garden. Doesn't matter the size of the rock. You just got to keep forward momentum. And I think a lot of what I did right was I built the truck as tough as I could. I probably should have used the locker for most of it.
Yeah, I didn't realize you didn't have the locker. You probably could have won this had you had your locker in there, because you were really smooth and, like you said, forward momentum.
Yeah, I looked down and I didn't have the locker on. They kept yelling at me, locker, locker, locker. I was like, oh, shit. Threw the locker on, and once I did that, I crawled right up what I was hung up on. But, yeah, slow as smooth as fast. I just crawled it.
What was your time on that?
I think it was about a 2:20.
Yeah.
Which was fairly respectable time, considering there were some guys with even more built rigs on bigger tires that had issues.
Right. So would you do that again, though, had you be out here and basically something to trailer out with?
I probably would have went harder.
Yeah.
I knew I had a 1,600-mile drive in front of me.
Does that weigh on your mind as you're doing that? Because I know Holden, you said, hey, man, the first time the adrenaline's going, but the second time you did it, you got out of the truck and you weren't shaking, but you were just too much adrenaline.
Yeah, I was freaking pumped. My favorite hat is in my truck, ruined. After just the first time, I was just so excited, and you do something crazy like that. Fucking threw my hat in the mud and was like, fuck yeah. So then I had all this adrenaline going. You go and fix my xterra. I go and fix my xterra. Then I'm back at it with another truck. So yeah, my adrenaline was through the roof.
So could you imagine driving the 1,600 miles in that, and then running how you did, and then Cody did, and then it's time to drive it home?
I can't imagine doing it 1,600 miles, but I do have that problem because my xterra, I can't tow back because it doesn't fit on the trailer because of the double stingers.
Oh yeah,
Can't touch the tips on the stinger bumpers, so I actually have to drive my xterra back home to get all my vehicles home. So, and I'm only 300, 400 miles away. I mean, Cody's 1,600, like you said. So I can't even imagine that.
So Cody, but just getting back to the guys, when you see the pictures or when you see this in person, maybe it makes more sense of why we do the rock challenge versus you just see people what it looks like in a short video clip just going out there and tearing their vehicle up.
Yeah, I've seen the argument on Facebook, and everybody's saying, why would you do that? You're just breaking stuff. And once you get to it, you look at it, pictures, it makes it look kind of gnarly, and it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but once you walk it and you kind of figure out a line, as long as you stick on that line, you can go as fast or as slow as you really need to. And I'm not guaranteeing you're going to get out of there alive, but if you stick to your line, you're going to have a halfway decent chance of not breaking anything and making it up in an okay time.
So as far as the event, what was your opinion of the event? Because you've done Gone Moab and stuff, which they do a great event. How does Went?
I've had an absolute blast. I had a lot of rain.
Yes, and that's what, for me, I put that on my shoulders of oh man, he drove this far, and it's just rain the whole time, but it's fun. It really is fun.
You know what's funny is Wednesday, first trail, is an intermediate expert, not super difficult. and it was raining moderately. I mean, wasn't dumping rain by any means, but it was raining pretty good. And I thought it was a lot harder day just with the water coming off the trail than it was when I ran with the difficult group on 75.
Really?
And I had gobs of traction on 75. I never had an issue.
Well, so, and of course, I think for this event, it's very social too.
Yeah, everybody's real friendly. You know, I can just walk up and talk to anybody, you know, and even people I kind of didn't really socialize with at first, they just come up to me, they know me. I'm like, oh, I kind of figured out who most everybody was, but everybody's been really calm.
You're kind of a big deal on the internet, man. You moderate a couple of these pages or something, and like, when you get big deal status, I mean, you're not Danny yet. I'm not going to say
I don't have the hair. I don't have the hair is what it is.
He's a bigger big deal than Danny because he's here.
That is true. That is true.
That is true. You're not babysitting children or going to, what was it? I think we talked to him the other day. It was cheerleading practice.
Yeah, he's going to cheerleading practice and this, that, the other. And it's not like his wife knew the dates of when. She didn't have to plan the cruise for this week. There's new cruises going on every week.
That's right.
But coincidentally, she's on a cruise. Sure, Danny. Sure.
Yeah,
She could have came out to WENTwindrock and cruised around in all the river we had, basically on every trail.
Well, you know what's funny? Danny's always coming out here and he's like, Dave, find me a $500 truck. And I'm like, well, for one, we don't have a lot of $500 four-wheel drives just sitting around here, Danny. But he's always like on Craigslist out there finding like vehicles like that. But yeah, I keep bugging him like, bring your wife out and just, you know, Gatlinburg is not very far. You don't realize how, like, and that's a big destination town. Cody, if you're going to get married, that's the place to do it, I hear.
I'd come out here and wheel for a week afterwards, right?
Yeah, right. That's a honeymoon.
Well, it sounds like Cody had a good time there. And Danny, of course, you being a West Coast guy, like, you know, coming out here, like it's for me going to Moab and out where you're at, there's just no comparison to them. And I know there's always the guys that, oh, my wheeling's harder, and it's all hard, you know. It all takes a 4-wheel drive, and
there's totally different aspects to everywhere you go, and that's one of the cool and exciting things about wheeling is you never really know exactly what you're getting into unless you've been there before, or you know, if you go out and, I mean, that's one of the exciting things about going and doing adventure stuff. You know, you go out and try new trails, you find out where other people have gone, you go check that stuff out. And I remember my first time out there kind of blew my mind, you know.
Well, it blew your mind because you'd spent all that money on bringing gear out here.
Exactly.
But Cody, man, by the end of the day, you know, and you can hear it in his voice there, but Cody was beat. Like just the drive out here to get from that far would be enough for me, you know?
Yeah. Well, when I drove out there with Chris from Colorado, it takes a bit out of you, that drive, you know, take a couple days to cruise out and then you have to drive back a couple days.
Yeah.
you know,
and then you may or not
by yourself.
You may or may not be with, you know, I know Jonathan Arnold rode with Cody and I think they had a great time, but sometimes road trips are a little tough when you got so many stories to tell.
Yeah, for sure.
Holden's over there going, yeah, Dave, I know your stories now.
Yeah. Well, Cody had a lot of interesting stories to hear on the way back because Jonathan Arnold definitely made an impression. I could hear the shoe beer story about 5 more times and it's still funny every time.
I got a question. While Cody was out at Went laughing and yammering on about things, did he ever fess up to the goat story?
I'd never heard a peep about the goat story, Danny.
That's some bullshit. You guys are both tight-lipped sons of bitches. I know he probably said, "Oh yeah, it was me."
No, our buddy Car Jeep, he never admitted it, Car Jeep. So I have no idea whether
we're gonna get him one of these days. We're gonna get him real drunk.
So has the goat? Speaking of that, has the goats been? People been calling about goats again or something?
No goats anymore. But But it was one of the most epic pranks I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that's a few episodes back, guys. But it's one of our Gone Moab recaps. But yeah, there was definitely somebody's phone number got put in with some goat sales on Craigslist, and poor Car Jeep was I think even Danny got hit with that one a little bit.
Oh well, yeah. I started getting phone numbers forwarded to me, and anyhow.
But so Danny, you definitely did miss like a good time. I hate that you couldn't be there. Obviously, we know the reasons why. We tried to torture you as much as we could.
Well, you did, and basically while you were torturing me, I said to myself, I'm not missing another adventure. As long as there's another Went, I'll be there for sure next year. And if there's not another Went, then I'm sure there'll be some kind of adventure we all need to get together for.
Oh yeah, well
that I have to get out to, because I mean there's too many like really good friends that I missed seeing this year, and it really kicked me in the nuts. Like Miller, Boondocks, you, Holden. I know Breslin wasn't there. I like seeing Breslin. Cody, I've seen Cody every year now for a few years. So many people. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of you guys, but these are just the names we were talking about tonight.
The best Breslin was there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Dawn.
the best Breslin. The Norbskis. Norbskis was there.
And
Heps.
Holden.
Was Heps there?
No, Tony didn't get to come.
Right. That was
having
the
some
first time he missed it, right?
Yeah, he's having some surgery, so they put him out. But
Harry Beasley and Anthony, and I mean just so many people that I love seeing every year and hanging out with and drinking beers and catching up, and Tom. I mean just so many people. I could sit here and think of another 20 people if I really rack my brain, but that's what I love doing. I mean the wheeling is secondary to all those people that I get to be able to hang out with, catch up with, and
would you think
share
the social factor of this event is what really kind of pulls you in then?
Yeah, I not to say that it's not a lot of fun out on the trails, but like I'm a ridiculously social guy. Like I have all my friends from high school, and like I've got way too many friends, and my really good friends make fun of me for it. But I mean, I really embrace friendships and people, and so for me, it's really important to be able to connect with all those people that I've shared so many experiences with. And I think that's part of it is anytime you go out there, you share a really, really cool experience. And so you build a friendship almost immediately. And especially if you've gone a couple times, and all of a sudden you have all these stories and this history, and every time you go, it's like you're putting another building block on a friendship. And so, yeah, missing Gone this year and missing Went, it's like I missed a couple building blocks with my homies. Not that I'm not going to be as good of a friend, but
well, no, you basically admitted it that you're not as close now.
You guys, well, I still got a couple years on some of these guys. Holden still hasn't won you over yet for sure. He's got like 3 more adventures before gets up with me.
I don't know, 1 or 2 more road trips.
Well, and speaking of road trips, though, we had talked about it's in the preliminary talks trying to get Nissan to let us come over next year for the Monday, and we want to have a big gathering at HQ and maybe get Nissan to bring some of their big toys out, and from there just do a road trip over to Went. So that's kind of in the early planning, Danny. So you ain't going to want to miss that one.
Well, I'm not going to miss whatever's planned. I'll be there. I'll be there early. I'll road trip it if I need to fly out. If I need to take a plane. If Brady has to fly me out in his damn Blackhawk and land me on the Nissan building, that's going to happen.
When speaking of Brady, man, he lost did he lose 2 tires this year? Was it Holden or just 1?
He lost a tire and a mirror.
Oh, okay.
A mirror? What, a tree high-fived him or what?
Just the sliding.
Yeah, sliding. Yeah, because he had the wheel. Yeah, he went all princess on us because his tire came off the wheel, and he refused to drive any further to his flat spot to change it because he didn't want to mess up his pretty Method 8 wheels.
Oh, Brady's so cute.
Well, He was representing Niztec, so I want to say a big shout out to Chris and those guys for sending somebody this way. And
Niztec hook it up again.
They did, and along with a few others, there was Ice Mule Coolers, xterra, Dave. What is Dave calling his company now? I forget. Max Gear or something like that.
Yeah.
Come on, Danny. You should be all of that.
I just know about xterra. I know xterra.
It's xterra. So Max Gear, Terra, Dave.
White Knuckle, Hefty Fab, obviously Heps Designs.
Obviously Regal
Vaxi,
Nissan. Regal
Nissan. Virginia Xterra Club.
Yep.
Who else? Oh, Oz. Can't forget Oz.
Yep.
Oz. I got to get with Oz soon to get some lights for the race truck.
Yeah, and then the winners of the Nissan Nation raffle, that was pretty cool. They got 2/3 of the biggest deals around.
With an interview soon to come.
That's true.
Oh yeah, JR.
Mm-hmm. JR Cherry. He won the cooler.
He won an interview?
Yeah, he won the interview.
We're going to have JR on?
Oh yeah.
Oh man. That's one person I really missed seeing, dude. JR kind of fell off the map for a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
Not totally, but just I hadn't seen him in a couple years, and
well, he was there, and me and him, we got into all types of shenanigans, drinking scotch from very fancy plastic cups to all types of shenanigans.
Hey, and I'm not a scotch guy, and that scotch he brought was freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
But it was like
what was it? Do you remember?
$150 a bottle was what it was.
It was an 18-year, but it was a cigar scotch,
like a Lefroy style, like a super
kind of
smoky.
Yeah, super smoky. I just remember it went great because Norb gave me a cigar from his private collection, and then JR hooked it up with the scotch, so it was high living.
Nice.
Holden had
JR, if you listen to this tonight, message me and let me know what kind of scotch that was. I'm very curious.
But Holden was walking around with that big stogie, man, all proud and interviewing people. And
it's funny, you save a man's life. You save a man's life one time, and he gives you cigars for the rest of your life.
And they're not cheap either, from my understanding.
No, they're not.
The Don.
One thing though, you gotta watch Norb though, because he had one of those blowtorch, those like industrial just.
Oh yeah, just cook your cigar up real quick.
I kid you not. He maybe had one or two many beers. He lit the brim of his hat on fire for a second. Like I had to put it out for him, like pinch it out, because he lit the brim of his hat on fire.
Well, in the
Norbs.
Danny, I don't know if you saw the group picture we took with Norbs, but it's a classic that can't.
Is that the one where he's napping and you guys are all sitting on the table? That's awesome.
I got Brez. Little Brez. He sent me a text going, "Hey man, Pops don't need that floating around," and I was like, "That's fine, man. I get it." But Pops partied hard, man. I love every time Norbs.
Norb's the best, dude.
Hell, and Norbs had a trip on his own, man. He did like almost 3,000 miles. He stayed around.
Oh, yeah, he did a bunch of stuff. That's right.
Yeah, because he stayed, and then I was following him, and he's like down here, over here, up there, like checking out all the sites. He did a whole southeastern tour.
Yeah,
just doing his thing, man. Smoking them stoves, doing his thing.
That is true, but I think Holden's sad though that the truck didn't get put on the trails with him though.
Yeah,
I would have
just a little, just a little. But then hell, next year, Danny, it's gonna. I mean, if it wasn't this year, I think next year's gonna be even bigger. But I'd say too, another big thing is it was the year of the SAS at Went.
Yeah,
how many
there's a lot of
SAS trucks
there.
do we have?
Well, mine was there and actually running on the trails. I want to give a big shout out to Nestor and Joel. And,
Nestor had his SAS out there this year, right?
Yeah, Dave, Nestor, both the Bradys or both the Overleys. Luke.
What's up with the
Cookie Monster was there.
The Overleys mixed up. Which one's the one that wins every year?
That's Brady,
right?
James is the other one.
Did he race this year up White Knuckle?
James, no, because he rolled it. The red hard body.
James rolled his.
Yeah.
James rolled his truck. But did Brady have his truck out there?
Yeah, he won it.
Yeah, he won.
Okay, so he won, what is it, like the 35 Unlimited?
Plus. Yeah, it's something like that.
So
Gotcha. All right.
You had Luke with a solid, Cody, me, Zach Wilkinson showed up.
Oh, Zach showed up?
Yeah, he finally showed up, man.
Yeah.
What? Finally shows up, and I'm not there.
Well, he only showed up for a day.
Well, he wasn't there all week, and he showed up on Friday because I remember we were stacking trucks, and I look behind me, and Zach's truck is like driving up the rear tire of mine. I'm like, wait, Zach's here? Zach's here?
Finally showed up, huh?
Well, I feel sorry for the poor guy because he's in phone sales, and it's like every time we plan the event, it's like some big iPhone or something's coming out.
Oh yeah.
So he has to be there. And then this year,
with like new rollouts.
Well, and this year he'd planned it where he could be out, and then he had some back issues, and he was out for a week or so, and it ate up all of his time.
He's got some back stuff.
Yeah, so he had one day he could show up, and he drove the 4 hours over to hang out.
You know what? Hats off to him for actually finally doing it. I feel like he's always like, I'm coming, and then.
Oh, there is definitely, when you look at the registration list, there's always one or two of them that I've probably seen for the past 3 years that actually never show up, but they keep registering. So
nice.
But yeah, you're right. We had a lot of SAS trucks there this year.
That's cool.
There was, I think it was almost 10 trucks.
Yeah.
Dave's truck was there. Did Dave's truck go on any trails?
My truck did go on trails, buddy.
It did.
How many trails did it go on?
What was that, Holden?
Dave was so busy spotting all those noobs. Anthony drove it pretty much the whole trail.
I got to drive it almost all the way up, and then coming down, it was like I told Anthony, I was like, dude, I was so beat. And Danny, I was in the pouring rain the whole day, man, like hard pour rain. And finally, I was like, Anthony, just get in the truck, man. I can't be back and forth. And then what I think it's inspired. If you watch his personal Facebook page now, it showed him with 2 axles the other day for his Frontier. Because he was like grinning the whole time of driving that truck. He's like, man, this is easy now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Nice.
But I have to say,
I think Anthony felt a little bit bad, though, because I know when I was talking to him, he's like, I almost feel bad. I drove Dave's truck almost more than he did this year.
No, man, I really like it. I have so much fun spotting and stuff. I don't like. It's almost worthless for me to drive. It's better just to hop in somebody's vehicle and just go that way. But no, man, I have to say a big shout out to Nestor and Joel for coming up from Florida. They come up 2 days early to help me get mine finished up. They spent all night Friday and Saturday. Or no, Sunday and Monday we spent all night on it. Got it running, took it down the road, threw it on a trailer, and was like, all right, let's just go see what can happen with it.
Nice.
And of course, I'm very cautious. And of course, Nestor's very like, just do it, man.
Start yanking and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. And so you put us together and we're about a normal human being with a new project like that. So, But no, I have to admit, man, putting that truck on the trails for the first time really since 13, dude, I was like grinning for the
first. I drove it?
Yeah. No, that was the last year it was on trails.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was grinning ear to ear to have that truck on the trails. Nice. And it just... It makes you, every time you think about selling that thing or just parting it out, it just makes you go, why was I thinking this? This is the most awesome thing. Yeah. And that's how you're going to be with your race truck, man. And speaking of, let's get into it. Let's get out of the wimp mode just a little bit. And Danny, I see that there's some racing truck news there, right?
A little bit. We're plugging along pretty solid. The rear bump stops are all welded in. Not too much to do on the rear end now. Well, as far as suspension is concerned and cage and whatnot. The big news is kind of on the front end. The front control arms and everything, and the front spindles are all welded up. Those are kind of waiting to go in, and the front cage, basically where the engine cage area, and the front suspension is getting all welded up. So the inner fenders are all cut off. And the radiator's getting kind of boxed in with tubing. So yeah, big stuff getting done. Hopefully next couple months. It's supposed to be done before the Baja 1000 because my fab guy is going to go racing that in a Frontier.
And he's tired of you hanging over his head.
Yeah. So that's the plan.
Well, so you still got to cut the roof on that thing and finish the welding of the cage up there, right?
Yep.
And then, I mean, after that, it's like pretty close to being kind of getting ready to go, right?
Yeah. Yes and no. There's so much.
I mean, as a truck, it'll be a truck.
Maybe I'll take
again.
a picture of this to-do list on my wall because it's here. I'll read off just one quarter of it. Rear hatch window cut. Actually, that's done. I can cross that off.
Well, see,
front engine cage. No, that's the fab work. Okay, let me go. AC delete belt, engine hose kit, batteries, fire extinguishers, steering wheel gauges, GPS, race radio. Oh, I just bought a race radio, so that's good. Steven Lutz is going to program that for me.
Nice.
Which is pretty badass. So that's halfway done. Harnesses, window nets, fuel pumps, brakes, spool. Oh, I got that one.
I mean, that
Coolant
sounds like
fans.
a good Saturday right there, right?
Yeah, something like that. It's a little different when it's not bolt-ons. But yeah, so that's just, that's like a quarter of the list. I have a huge list. It always gets longer before it gets shorter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know
every time I do one thing, I'm like, oh, I got to do this. So I add two things.
But I know you were kind of hoping around December. And
I wanted to race December. But that was based on it getting done in September.
Right.
Now we're here in October.
But everything you're doing, is it to get ready for the Mint or
yeah, I don't know. I want to race it before the Mint because I don't want to.
You don't want to blow a rear end out.
Try and get into the and get into the Mint and then the truck breaks down because we weren't be able to really test it out good. And
the gears,
I want to race the Mint. If
the gears are properly set, right? So it's not going to blow the rear end.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get it set up, race it, or at least get a ton of testing in and tweak it and make sure, maybe break it a couple times before I get into the Mint. Because it's not a cheap race and it's a big race.
What does something like that cost to enter?
You're probably looking at $4,000 to $5,000 after everything said and done, depending on if you go cheap or expensive with crew and hotels and stuff.
Well, I mean, you got an RTT, right? You just throw them all in that, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You get CVT on board, talk to Bobby over there, and say, look, Bobby, I'm going to race this thing with a rooftop tent. It's never been done before.
No, because then the trophy trucks drive over top of you and then you die.
Just say, look, I'm going to get my Craftsman toolbox. We're going to throw it in the back. RTT on top.
Overland Racer.
Yeah, we're gonna get one.
Overland. That's a me and Overland Asheville joking about Broverland. Jim Bob like that thing nicest daggone Broverland I ever seen.
Well, so Holden, are you still over there, man? Your picture's frozen, and all I see is you smiling.
I see him. He looks good to me.
Oh yeah,
he's got a nice 20-something.
Roverland. I was sitting there thinking we were talking about landing on the moon or something.
Well, when you're talking about
Broverland, not Rover, Broverland, because I got a.
I thought you said Roverland.
No. Not to be confused with those English nutcases. We're Broverland.
Well, we've got a
racetrack.
We've got a couple listener questions tonight, and the first one's going to come from Mr. Sonny Suttelberg, who I don't believe that's correct at all, but we'll leave it at that. I think Holden has the truth.
You know his name's not Sonny, right?
Yeah. Holden.
Nobody cares about what his real name is, though, because Sonny's good enough for me.
That's right, man, because he's a cheerful, bright guy. So Sonny's asking, and this might be a good one for you, Holden. He goes, buy a new 2019 Ultima or wait for the bugs to get worked out. What? As a dealer, this is a trick question for you because you're like, buy. But what
he's
would
not
you
buying
do?
From you, so it's not as important of a question. You personally.
I mean, technically he should. I mean, you bought one from him. It's payback, right? This is payback time, Sonny.
This is true. I'd say it depends on the model for me is when that should happen. To me, a car like this, you don't have to wait. Something when, they got like the Titan XD where you got a Cummins motor, things like that. Maybe you want to wait. But this is something, I mean, let's face it, cars is what Nissan's all about, what they do, especially the Altima. They're not going to let a flagship car like this come out with a bunch of kinks and problems and issues. So I'd say you'd be more than fine to go ahead and purchase one right up front. Is there going to be a recall? Probably. But how many cars nowadays are coming out without recalls?
Every car gets like 4 recalls, at least in the first year.
Well, Danny,
no matter what year.
Speaking of the Altima, have you seen any at your dealerships yet?
Out by me, you know what? I haven't been. There's like one dealership, like one town over, because the town I'm in is like really small.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have one. And the one that is in Simi, like I haven't been by it in a long time. To tell you the truth, I don't go by there. It's kind of out of the way. So I haven't seen anything.
Well, they're at the dealerships now, buddy, and they look good, man. Holden, now that you have a few and you've got my favorite orange color out there, man. Which ones do you have right now? Is it just the bases or?
No, so I have a platinum and 3 SRs and 1 S. So I still have yet to get an SL in. I'm working really hard because Nissan's obviously the all-wheel drive really isn't for my market per se, but we are pushing them really hard to get one. And then we're also supposed to be getting one of the turbos in as well. But we've been pushing Nissan really hard saying, hey, we do want a couple of the all-wheel drives because I think it will be something not huge, but it'll be it'll be something worth having.
Right. An enthusiast for that car might want that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what we're thinking. And there's going to be people who just, I mean, even though we're down here and yeah, we don't get a lot of snow, you always see us on the news. You get the 1 or 2 snow a year where everyone's lost their minds. They don't know how to drive. And people remember that. It's funny how being stuck in traffic for 8 hours during a snowstorm will make people conscious their next buying decision on the possibility of getting an all-wheel drive vehicle.
Well, I've definitely, with the ice we had, I've told Kelly, like, I will never not have a 4-wheel drive in the fleet. Like, I'm just not.
Well, for us Californians here in SoCal, everybody that buys a 4-wheel drive Tahoe or Armada or whatever, they buy it so that when they go up to the snow, you know, you go up to the Sierras or something like that, they may never go snowboarding or skiing or whatever, you know. Instead of having chains or whatever it is.
It's all about appearance,
just in case.
Right? Yeah, it's appearance
just in case.
Well, and speaking of Cody Fletcher, who we were talking with, Cody asked, Nismo kicks, is this going to happen? And will they do an all-wheel drive and a manual? Holden, what do you think on that?
I'd say probably not. I know Nissan has some plans, some ideas possibly of trying to somewhat evolve the Nismo nameplate and everything. Nismo's in a weird spot kind of right now. They're kind of in this weird limbo where I'm not sure really what they do. And the few times I've asked people that work for Nissan what Nismo does, they're not really sure what Nismo does either. Obviously, you just had the Nismo Leaf come out in Japan to much fanfare. I mean, it's really
There's a
big.
Nismo Leaf in Japan?
Yes.
Wow.
And that was complete sarcasm on my part of the much fanfare. But yeah, it seems like right now all Nismo does is make badges and stick them on cars. So I can't see them doing something like that.
Unless the department gets revamped somehow.
Unless it gets revamped.
And we've talked about this.
If you were going to see it, it'd be, 2 or 3 years down the road once you're up for a refresh, redesign is when you might see something like that added.
Yeah, and Cody, we've talked about this on previous episodes of Nismo. You never know what they exactly do anymore, other than a GTR program. I
remember when we were talking about the new turbo on was it the Altima? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about how it was back in the day. It used to be awesome, the Nismo version or whatever, and today it's just a super watered down nothing.
I mean, I think there's something there with Altima, and I think you'll see a Nismo Altima, but I think it's going to be 2 or 3 years when they do a refresh. I mean, my personal opinion is I think it'd be cool to have that VC turbo engine with the all-wheel drive and have that be something you could only get with a Nismo version. That would be something cool and interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want the turbo and the all-wheel drive, the only way you're going to be able to get it is with the Nismo version. Then you just do some sport tuning on the suspension, wheels, bam. You got something cool and interesting, and you're not having to do a lot of R&R to make something new.
Wayne, could you imagine them actually putting a 6-speed manual transmission in that car?
No, I mean, I can't imagine them doing it, but it would be totally kick-ass if they did.
Yeah,
That would be super badass, but it's never gonna happen.
I mean, they can't redesign a pickup truck right now, so I can't imagine them doing anything that cool. And speaking of pickup trucks, Mr.
Salt is in the air.
Yeah, very salty.
Everywhere you look around.
Mr. Scott Daly asked, Frontier when and a diesel ?
Salt is in the air.
Yeah, so Scott, everything that we've had some information come along that we cannot talk about ever, but who knows?
Never, ever. Not even if there's a fire.
Yeah, just go listen to our Gen 3 podcast. That was like 4 back, and that's about all we could talk about right now. But I know that the little birdies have been talking, and talk isn't good right now. That's all I can say. Holden, you want to?
Jeep and Volkswagen will be in the truck market before Nissan redesigns a Frontier.
the Bronco will be in its refresh before
The Honda Odyssey station wagon van truck will be here before a new Frontier is.
Well,
Tesla will be in the truck market.
we'll be on Mars, but it pretty much
Start
before.
charging your Duracells, my friend.
Well,
If you want a new Frontier, you better figure out a way to get it to Mars, because that's where we'll be.
That's right. That's right. They're doing some first, man. So they've got the Midnight Edition. Now they've got the Mars Edition. And,
That's the only place they're gonna find one.
But no, truck guys, we were discussing this before the show. I had no idea Nissan's plans. You get conflicting information. I know I get information from over there that's like, oh man, here's kind of the layout of it. This is what's going to happen. And then 2 weeks later, some other information comes along and you're like, nope, not going to do it.
I mean,
so.
I can say they do have a prototype in existence. So I do know that. They're supposed to start driving and showing it to dealers so they can start giving opinions and show it to the product planning committee. But any further details I'm not allowed to discuss.
Yeah, well.
But if you want to, go check out episode 72, and it will get you a pretty close idea of exactly what we're talking about. So episode 72, it's always a good listen. And some of that information is still true. There's some stuff that has been changed slightly, but for the most part, it's still there.
That should be our motto here. It's somewhat based on reality, somewhat not.
The information you get on each episode is in real time as we're receiving it.
Yes.
The problem is that information changes.
Well, and that's
sometimes just as quickly.
Yeah, and that is a problem with having little inside connections to that. You do get like a piece of information, you want to get it out there to everybody, and literally the bean counter comes in and goes, no, we can't do that. You're like, damn it, man.
Yeah. And as far as the diesel, I can honestly say I have no idea. I've heard possibly, I've heard absolutely not, I've heard every answer in between. I'm hoping maybe part of the reason why it's taken them so long to do it is because they're exploring that option. And that's another thing. I mean, some of these meetings I go to, we have agendas, and, you'll see different ideas that they have. And, off to the side, it'll tell you exactly what that is. Hey, this is something we are going to do for 2020. Hey, this is something, we did the research. No, it's not going to work. And then sometimes you just see study pending. And so sometimes information like that gets stuck under that study pending or under review. And that's where those bean counters are going in and checking. And, if we built it, how much of a commitment do we have to have, and this, that, the other, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Because right now the two-tone Armada, part of what's holding that up is, or not the two-tone, the Armada is two-tone. Part of what's holding up making it monotone, because you get a lot of people complain about that, is the fact that they've made a certain commitment to vendors that they're going to buy so many of those parts. So if you made a commitment that you're going to buy 100,000 gray painted Armada fender flares, guess what? You got to build 100,000 of those trucks before you can talk about making it a monotone.
So basically
one.
what Holden's saying is, you guys that like the two-tone vehicles, if y'all could every year just buy a new one real quick, just over and over and over, we'll get rid of this stuff and we'll move on to solid colors again. Well, guys, I'm about talked out tonight. We got to kind of rub it in Danny's face a little bit that he wasn't at Went. We got to discuss Went a little bit. Obviously, there was a few questions answered. I don't know where we go from this. Let's do this. Let's head out on a Wenterview, and we're gonna push the old randomizer and see who pops up on the last little bit of interview from Went, and you're gonna get some more of these on down the episodes, guys. So be ready for random Went interviews, but. So from everybody here at the Nissan Nation podcast, from my buddies over there in the lands unknown to wherever you're listening to this show, from California, Australia, Johannesburg, we've got them everywhere, guys. So Danny, why don't you take us out here and get us into this interview?
Next up is a Wenterview. Enjoy.
We are out. Peace, everybody. Oh, yeah.
All right, so I'm here with the world famous JR and Mr. Tom Pankow himself. Fellas, how's Went going so far?
It's fantastic. I'm having the time of my life. This is better than my wildest dreams.
That was not scripted. It was just terrible because JR doesn't know what to say. Tom, what about you?
I think it's awesome because it's a kind of a frontier invasion this year. There are a lot of frontiers here.
They really are.
Now, today, myself, Tom, my dad, we went out on some trails. So what do you think about it, Tom? How's the weather affected the trails?
They're going to be greasy. You got to pay attention to where the heck you're walking. It's easier to drive them than it is to walk them.
That's true.
That is definitely true, as I found out myself today. Also, you got to be careful of your spotter. He should not be taking pictures. He should be spotting. Isn't that right, Tom?
Yeah, that would help. That would help. Like, slow the fuck down. Whoops.
So for those listening, Tom had a little incident on the trail. I really wasn't spotting. I was just trying to get some cool pictures, and we've had a little trail damage before the trails actually officially started. But the bumper held up good. What do you think about the damage, Tom? Are you worried about it?
Hell no.
Good. That's good because I was the trail leader, so I don't want to be held reliable. So
He signed a waiver, man. He signed a waiver.
He did sign a waiver. So JR.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've had a little damage of yourself on the front end, but not from a rock, but from what was it? What exactly happened?
It was the Cadillac trail, where the Cadillacs are. They'll stop in front of you. It's the craziest thing. But yeah, I hit a Cadillac, and it was fantastic.
All right, so in closing on the first ever Wenterview that we have going, let's hear some words of wisdom from the old men of Went. JR, I'll let you go first. Words of wisdom.
Air down, slow and steady, keep the momentum, and stay away from the rape cabin.
All right, and Tom, any more words of wisdom to expound upon?
If you ask for a spotter, listen to him. Keep your head and your arms inside the vehicle at all times.
All right, first Wenterview in the books.